Hi, everybody. It's 6:59. We're still waiting for a few more people. Just so everyone's aware, we are live streaming right now, and we are recording. We can also start we have a quorum. We have a public hearing. We can start that. And we'll just continue it during the meeting. We won't make everyone wait around, but if anyone has a comment. So I would like to make a motion to open the New Paltz Town Board meeting for September 15th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
To the
to
flag
of the United
States of America and
to
to
the
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
for all.
to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I don't have any announcements. If anyone has any announcements. I don't have any. And I guess we can open the floor for public input. If anyone has any comments. Try to keep them to 3 minutes. And we'll raise your Zoom hand. And if not, I don't see anyone's hands raised. So maybe we'll just leave it open for another minute, but we'll make a motion to open the public hearing for a local law to amend Chapter 27, taxation of the code of the town of New Paltz to add a new Article 8, override the tax levy limit, established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
so
Aye.
does anyone have any comments for the public hearing? If not, we'll just leave that open and we'll close that at the end of our meeting, and we'll ask again to make sure no one missed their opportunity. And so with that, I would like to, I guess, make a motion to open the joint meeting with the town board and the planning board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Julie's here now. So we are. Okay, so thanks for coming. Appreciate, it's nice to have a joint meeting with everyone here. You know, you guys called the meeting. We're here to listen to you guys and have a conversation. And so I think people should be allowed to able to unmute themselves and turn their cameras on and off. I think that's all. And so there we go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Adele Ruger, and I chair the Town of New Paltz Planning Board, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to meet with our planning board. I'd like to introduce you to the members that are here. I'm Adele Ruger. I'm going to do this in order of who I see. Jane Schamberg. You can raise your hand, Jane. Amanda Gatto. Adrian Capuli, his camera's not on, but you see his name. And our engineer, Andy Willingham. That's who I see here today. So, as you all know, planning board has huge responsibility in working with applicants and, trying to ensure that our town planning objectives are achieved. In the past few years, we were able to have a liaison come to many of our planning board meetings. And he would update us on decisions that were made and things that were in the works and ideas that were being bantered around, and also bring back to the town board things that we were talking about, challenges that we were experiencing. And we found that to be extremely helpful in the years that we were able to have that. So we're hoping that we can get to a place where maybe we can have a liaison that at least comes to some of our meetings, maybe to give a report, or we can, give a report to that person. It's really very helpful. So that's my question for the night. I don't know if anyone wants to address it right now, or if you want to go on and hear all of our questions first. That's up to you guys.
I'm happy to talk about it a little bit. So, the general policy for liaisons is that, and the board passed this last spring, I think, that, town board members, if you're a liaison, you're not expected to go to, and I think we sent this around to everyone, but you're not expected or required to attend meetings. If the board that you're a liaison to really wants you to come, they can ask you to come. Or if they have a question or an issue, you're the liaison is the person that they reach out to. And, if the town board, wants to kind of communicate with the planning board, they can either do so with the chair or with the liaison. The liaisons are really about, having a known pathway to kind of expedite some of these things. So emails aren't going to all the board members, and there's always one person who's responsible. If an email goes out to 5 people, everyone just might assume it's someone else's job. But that being said, we are, every year at the reorg, we redo the liaisons, and we can talk about it as a board. If someone wants to attend the planning board meetings, maybe we could switch it up, but it really kind of depends on how much time people have to go to meetings, because we all have, even you guys, right, have probably too many meetings to go to. So,
We
but
do have a lot of meetings, but I think it would be helpful. Do we have a liaison right now? Because I don't know that we do.
yeah, Alex is.
I'm the liaison, and to answer your question, I do read the minutes. And I do, read the information, and if I felt that there was anything that was sort of pressing, I would share it with the town board. But what you had said earlier, I think, is something important. I think it's also what Neil said. You're free to reach out to me if you want me to come to anything. Again, I'm super busy, so it's really hard. But if you find that there's a meeting that's particularly important, or that you do need information from the town, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. I
yeah.
also think that if something comes up, even if it's not something that was necessarily passed on the town board, but something that you're discussing that would pertain to the planning board, it's helpful for us to know in what direction you're moving. So if we could find these things out, and we would keep it here when we're looking at applications saying, well, the town is considering this, or the town is considering that, it's helpful for us to know that. So it works both ways for us getting information and for us giving information. But thank you. Jane, you have some things?
Yes, I do. I actually have a few things. One thing I want to say is what we're finding in general right now. 2 years ago, we had some background so that you understand where we're coming from. that we had a lot of applications for accessory apartments. That was kind of the thing that was going on in the town. Now, currently, we are having many, many applications for subdivisions because the land is getting so expensive, particularly in certain parts of the town, that people are trying to get rid of their taxes and monetize by subdividing. So we are having some particularly unusual challenges that come up with some of these things. One of them that I want to address is enforcement. For example, and Andy, please feel free to chime in here because you have a really good overview. We have an applicant who has about 70 acres. 35 of those acres are on Route 32. He wants to monetize, he wants to divide it in half, but he built a couple of ponds. And they are illegal, and he built them in wetlands, and he obliterated wetlands. And as I'm sure you all know, our town has an extremely strict wetlands policy. One source of confusion, I think, over what can or cannot be done as wetlands is that the village does not have a wetlands law at all. So they don't mind encroaching, they don't mind doing things that we absolutely would not let an applicant do. So there are some issues with the jurisdictions between the town and the village, but what we don't have is a way to enforce particularly egregious violations. Yes, we have Stacy, who's the building inspector, who's fabulous, but she's super busy. So if we could have put our heads together in some way and come up with a kind of more muscular way of really enforcing these violations and forcing people to mitigate or pay their other avenues, that would be very, very good. And that's something that we're encountering quite a bit. Another thing is we need a mechanism for closing out open applications that are abandoned. Our applications can go on for 8 years. I don't know, Adele, how old is the hotel application? The Rocking Horse Ranch application, that hotel? 8
I
years?
think it's more than the applications are taking a long time. That's one thing, but applicants are not coming back after a year or 2 or 3 years, and these applications haven't been closed out. So
Right.
that's a concern of ours because if you look at our open applications list, it goes on forever, and we haven't seen these people in years. So I think that's what you mean, Jane, right?
Yeah, that is what I mean. And then you tell them what they need to do. They go away and they never come back and they just ignore it. They don't do it. We had that recently with a very high profile business in town. We found out there were lots of violations when we looked at the plans. They just went away. They never came back and they did what they wanted to do. The other thing we would love to have is a communication strategy for the planning board from us to citizens so that our code requirements don't come as such terrible surprises. I mean, people are really pretty clueless about what they have to come to the planning board for, what has to be done. Even people sometimes who have served on the planning board, we had an incident recently, they were clueless. So those are some examples that it slows us down. We want to get people moving through the planning board quickly. We don't want to spend tons of money making them come back and back. So these 3 things would streamline and help us a lot.
And I can address some of those. So, the accessory dwelling unit, there's a big push at the county level to add ADUs. And
Yeah.
the town board, we've discussed it as a board, and it is one of our priorities. And, Stacy and I have been working on an ADU the town has an ADU law now. It's been on the book since '86. When you
Could
read
you speak up, Neil? It's a little hard to hear you. Sorry.
Okay. So the town has an ADU law. It's been on the books for maybe since the mid '80s. But when you read through the law, it's obvious that it was written to kind of stop ADUs and not promote them. And the big concern was that there were going to be duplexes everywhere. We're trying to shift that, and Stacy and I have been working on it. We've been reading through the different laws throughout the county. I think you're not going to be happy about this, but we're probably going to make it as of right. And they probably will not be coming before the planning board. They may be going just with the code officer. The goal is to make it as easy as possible for people to do ADUs. That's the quickest way to add housing. It's probably the cheapest way to add housing. It's also, as far as from a sprawl perspective, you're not adding sprawl because you're not, going out and building subdivisions, but you're adding housing and you're adding tax base, and you're not adding more roads. So from a smart growth perspective, ADUs are one of the things we really want to promote. And so Stacy and I are finalizing that law. We'll be working with the town board, over the next few months to try to get that out. That's a priority. We've been working with the county as well. The next thing is enforcement. We're going to be hiring a new, zoning enforcement officer soon. We're working on the budget right now. We're Stacy and I have gone back and forth. We've talked to the town board. Stacy came and met with us a few weeks ago, talked about, we're really shorthanded. It's hard to find people, but we think we're going to be able to hire more people, which will help with enforcement next year. Open applications. I know Adele has been working with Stacy, and we're trying to put some rules in place where they kind of just they expire at some point. And hopefully that's coming, that'll be coming to the town board at some time in the next few months as well. Communicating with the public. It's worth working on. I agree. It's good to let people know what they have to go before the planning board and not go before the planning board.
I think I like what you've said, Neil. You said we wouldn't like it, but I disagree. I think we would like not having to go through accessory apartments. It's extremely slow. We had one incidence of a couple that barely spoke English that were trying to do that. I mean, if they could just go right through, and so all the technical stuff that we had to go through with them was hampering them. So I think if that could just be taken care of by the building department, that would, give us more time to go over the larger projects. I think, all those things are good, and that we're exchanging ideas and communicating is really, I feel, really helpful to us, because we sometimes have things that we can't, it's just code, it's, and people, as you recently might have known with the issue with the trees, it's, they had to come to you. So that's all good, as far as I'm concerned. That's all I have right now.
I'm glad to hear it. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you're in support of it. The goal is that we want to make it as easy as possible for people to do the right thing. So you put good rules in place, and then hopefully they follow them. But that's why we also need more enforcement officers as well.
Would it be helpful to you if we on the planning board put together some kind of sort of publishable document about kind of like a FAQ of what you need to know if you want to do this, or what you need to know if you want to do that, or if you want to build a pond that you have to, find out, that alert people that we have a very strict environmental law in terms of wetlands. Don't mess with them, come to us, call us, whatever. Because we've had a lot of people say, "Oh, I didn't know."
I think that'd be great for the residents of the town as well, because a lot of times people may not do something because they think, "Oh, well, I'm not going to be allowed to do that." And if they can just go to the town's website and read through a few pages of documents that explain it, I think that's good for everyone. I would love to put something together.
Okay, well, maybe we can put our heads together on that. That would be good. That would make me feel a little bit better about people coming and saying, "Gee, how do I don't know." So that's really good. Thank you. That's all I have.
It would be good for the building department too, because they wouldn't have to then field all these calls where people would be like, "Well, can I put up a fence?" Well, yeah, You know, people don't want to read through 100 pages of code to find out if they can put up a fence, you know?
So there's an
Sometimes I
assumption
read
that
the code and I
everyone,
can't figure out what has to happen. So, it's kind of legalese. If you put it in plain English, I think, if you have to put up a fence, here's what needs to be done, blah, 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 and blah, and then they know. And here's who you call.
Even if there are links, I mean, you guys know what the most common questions are, right? So even if there are links, like, it's not simple to put up a fence. Like there are rules about, the height and the distance from the right of way. I know they're different from the village because I've been, asked about this. So, even if there are then just links to our code, to some of the more common questions, so then it's easy for them to find and read through what the code says about certain things. That might be useful as well.
Good. Yeah, I like that.
I also think it is very important that the applicant get an idea as to whether or not they'll need to hire a consultant. Because I think what slows things down are applicants that don't think, not every applicant needs a consultant, but some applicants do. And what happens is they come in, they think they're going to hand us a bunch of just stuff, and they really don't know what it is. And they'll talk to Stacy, and they'll come and they'll talk to me, but it's their engineer's job and it's their lawyer's job. These are on larger projects and people don't realize that, and that can hold a project up for a couple of months until they finally say, okay, I'll get an engineer. Andy, do you see that happening? I think that happens. It happened once this year with us. I actually think you were recused from that project, but
yeah, it definitely happens, and I think that should happen right out of the gate. When they go for an application, whether you need consultants or not, you almost always do, to just be able to draw an accurate map of what you're trying to do. But yeah, it really shouldn't be all the way at the board without a consultant. If it should have them before it even comes to the board if it needs one. Absolutely.
I mean, it really makes the cost even higher to applicants when they think they can get away without a consultant, and then in the end they need one, and they've gone through all of this stuff, and then they have to hire one anyway, and it took months. So, okay, that's it for me. Thank you. Amanda, you have some questions. You have to unmute, please.
Okay, 3 items. One of them is going to be a real easy one. It's just that I know that the town adopted a CEA earlier this year, and if you could send a copy of that actual document to the planning board so that we know exactly where the parameters are and what the attributes are, so that when we get applications that fall into that CEA, we know what in seeker we should be looking for. So that'd be great.
Pretty sure it's on the website, but we'll send it to you.
Yeah, we didn't even, it turned out we had one that nobody, including our engineer, was aware that the CA had been adopted because it was probably the month before or something. And so, yeah.
It was 3 days before.
Okay. Yeah, if you could send it to us, that would be great. Do you have any update for us on the solar law and solar on the landfill project? And nope. Okay. It's just in limbo. Okay. And we had some very, very specific wetland violations that have been in process of being handled. I think actually one was a clearing violation and one was a wetlands violation. And we really haven't, we aren't clear on where those projects stand, what's happened with the mitigation efforts or anything like that. So is there any way we could get an update on those?
I mean, I can ask Stacy. We're not normally kind of briefed on any of that. It's more planning board. I guess I'm happy to ask Stacy.
Okay, I think the frustration with the planning board is that when these violations are brought forth, and everyone goes through a lot of work to go out and work with what the mitigations could be and so forth, and then we never know what the outcome was. So, or if it's been addressed, or we need to do some follow-ups. I don't know if that's partly on our fault, that we should just have a trigger after a year to say, to ask about it, or what. But
after a year, it's probably not even in court yet, right? These things take years, right? We're now finishing up. There was a lawsuit from, that Stacy was involved with a landlord. It's finishing up now, but it started probably in 18, 19. I mean, these things take forever.
So, I think the frustration is not tenant landlord situations, but
No, it's the
we
same
have
as-
some major violations, not small
I'm
ones.
saying the violations, like when they go to court, and then there's like, the lawyers go back and forth. They take, and that's our enforcement is through the courts, right? If you're going to find people or anything like that, the only way to really enforce it, my understanding is it's before the courts. It's not.
I have a friend at the DEA who says that the DEA is lowering the threshold of the wetlands and going to be increasing the surveillance. There was state legislation apparently. So do you guys have a liaison with the DEA? Because we don't kind of talk to
You mean
them.
DEC? You don't mean the drug
I'm sorry,
enforcement?
too much news. DEC.
So, well, they're just changing the size. Yeah, that would be, that the state would be considering a wetland from 12.4 to 7.4, but
I think that was
Right, but does the town have a liaison with the DEC at all? Do you guys talk to each other? Because we don't speak to them. And so sometimes this stuff comes as a surprise to us.
not directly about like like what you're talking about. Like when we're on different like committees or like, the water, we meet them through like workshops and things like that, but there is no direct, like, I call up so-and-so and, here I have an issue and there's someone to talk to. And there probably is, if we really needed to like ask questions, I'm sure we could look on the website and they would return our calls. They have when we've had specific questions. My guess is with the changing of the wetland sizes, all that's going to do is when you pull up Parcel Viewer and you click on like a parcel to see if there are wetlands there, now there are going to be more wetlands there because the minimum size has now shrunk. So there are going to be more wetlands. Before it had to be a certain size before it even showed up on the map. So it's
Right.
going to end up impacting the planning process, but I don't know about the enforcement. That may still fall on like the planning board and the code officers in each
Right.
town.
So Neil, just to get back to what we were talking about there, one of these issues, one of these enforcements was the clear cutting, and that one mitigation had been agreed on. We just never heard whether it got accomplished. And then the other one, if the other one is in fact going to be going to court, that, that's we understand, then that would take a lot of time. We never actually heard what might be happening. So
So it is so frustrating. That I think is the most frustrating. People come with huge things that are an issue. And if they don't like what we say, they go away and do what they want. That I think makes us really just have absolutely no value if that happens with the larger projects. What's the point of going to the planning board? You don't like what they say? It's okay, we're never coming back. We're just keeping it that way. The planning board needs that kind of support. I think that the environmental committee met with us once about this particular one, Amanda, the last one I think that you're referring to. And I thought it was going to be dealt with. The thing is, if we have to wait 2 or 3 years before you actually take them to court, it's a problem.
And the whole process takes a couple of years.
Mhm. I think Andy wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I'll try to explain it sort of from my point of view. Obviously wetlands are important in New Paltz. We wrote this law, extensive law, and you see applicants kind of go the right path and do everything they're supposed to do and come in front of this board and do all the paperwork and spend all the money on consultants. And this board really does their job. They make them follow the law, and it's difficult to get a wetland permit from this planning board. But then you see these other, owners who will do something that would never be permitted by that board, that's 10 times worse. And they make out better, basically. And it's kind of a fairness thing, the way I see it. It's like, why should those people kind of get away with it? And people that do everything the right way don't get to do anything near the wetland. And it's just, I don't know exactly the solution, but that's what's happening. And it's not really,
So
it's
these
not
are
fair.
things that are not even coming before the board. They're just like,
They're just doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Or I would say they're coming to the board after the fact. Some people didn't know, as Jane mentioned, but some people do know. And then they come for some other kind of building permit or whatever. And the mitigation is that they have to spend is much less than it would have cost them to begin with. It's just could be a slap on the wrist and $500 to cut down hundreds and hundreds of trees. I'm not saying, that this is what happened, but the actual punishment is small, even the violation, even if you go to court, I think that from what I read, the violation is small. So,
well, I guess my question is, and I don't know the code as well, but I know because I'm on the Shade Tree Commission in the village, but like if someone cuts down a tree, then they can be fined $500 if they didn't fill out a permit. And so and it's very straightforward, like you cut down a tree and you didn't file the permit, you get a $500 fine. And I know people that's happened to. Is there something like that in like, you fill in a wetland, if you fill in, or if you do something without a permit, then, as a person on the shade tree, like we're the enforcers, like we'll be out, I'll hear a chainsaw and I'll get in my car and I'll drive around. And then I'll be like, oh, they're cutting down that tree. And I know they didn't submit a permit. And I call the code officer, he comes out and it's taken care of. They'll get a fine, right? And part of it, we know what applications are before us. And so the enforcement is done by the code officer, but really it would be the ENCB. I think they're the ones that are supposed to do the tree law in town.
Yeah, what it is that our code, it lists fines and it says it can be this much per day. But those apparently can't be applied unless justice court applies them. The justice court is what it's been explained to us has to hear the case and decide what the fine is. So my understanding is, we can report it. The violations get reported. They're right there. It's very simple to see. And the fine could have been, but the fine can't just be assessed by, code enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, we had a project where there was a building that all of us had to go to the site visit because it was like a major controversial site visit. And there was a building there that was being occupied that wasn't supposed to be occupied. It was a shed. There was another building because they were using the house without a permit as a B&B. There was a yurt, there was a this, there was a that. It was hilarious. And we reported it and then sort of nothing happened, and nobody, I don't think anybody ever went out. I mean, I know I reported it and never heard anything. So, I think the village seems to have a lot more definition and enforcement in some instances than the town does. And what I'm saying is we'd like to see it be clearer from the towns for the town also.
I also think, the village is easier, right? The village, you can
Yeah.
drive by and see someone cutting down a tree. The town is
Yeah.
huge. But those are our frustrations right there. Mostly, I think the biggest frustration is the enforcement. For us, for the engineer, for the attorneys, is that these larger, I'm not talking about little things, these larger things are not being addressed. So it makes us feel like it doesn't matter what we do, it's going to happen anyway. That's a problem for a board.
I mean, like I can talk to Stacy about it and I can look at other codes and talk to other supervisors and see how they do it. If there's ways to change it.
That would be great. That would be great.
That'd
So
be
is
great.
anyone on my board, I'm sorry, anyone else on my board have any questions? It's your last chance. Okay. No, thank you. Thanks very much. I don't know if you want to comment on anything, but I'll give it over to you.
Do they have any questions for us?
I want to take a moment and just thank you, those on the planning board that are here and any who aren't, for their service. It's really, it's quite a responsibility, and I understand your frustrations. And so, hopefully with an additional, with the changes, there will be more follow-up and communication and enforcement. And communication between all of us, I think is great. The more we have some new board members, and the more they get to know you guys and what you do, and I think I appreciate you coming. I really do.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, I think we're set. Bye-bye. Thank you.
I
Oh,
just really
Alex.
quickly, I wanted to thank you also for coming. And I guess it was the same thing that Neil mentioned. Very frustrating to hear that, a code officer can't come in and give a fine, and that it isn't a more immediate process. And it would be interesting to find out what people in other towns do. What do they have something where there's a more direct, does it more direct, or maybe the code officer has more power, or there's more of a liaison between the code officer and the courts, where it can go through faster, where you don't have to wait for 2 years for something to happen, so that there really is a little bit more repercussion when it comes to knowing that you've done something that you haven't gotten a permit for. It's kind of a shame that you have all these laws that have been so carefully thought out, and have somebody come in and ask for something and then go off and do it anyway. It's a real problem. That shouldn't be happening. So I would be really interested to find out, what do they do in Saugerties? What do they do in Beacon? What do they do in other places? Maybe places that are more like ours, where there's a lot of land and much harder for anybody to notice what's going on. So that would be worth looking into.
Here's something for you. So Dennis Doyle was talking at the last Ulster County Planning Board about the idea of perhaps doing a round table, because all the towns and villages that in the county are represented there at the county planning board, to have a group where everyone gets together and can talk about these kinds of things, find out about best practices, find out about what are common issues, just because that's never, as far as we know from a planning board standpoint, been done. So it might be something where, also a representative from the town board could be there too, to hear, whatever. I don't know what he's thinking, but I think the county planning board members all thought that was a good idea. So, yeah.
Also, with the housing crisis and with more housing being built and increasing density, even in the town where it isn't as obvious as it is in the village, where you're seeing it, it's easier to see it. I think that's really important for us to understand also the goals of the town, how much you really want to do, where your thinking is on this, because this is the first, we've heard of it with the accessory apartment. It's a great idea. If there are other things, I know Amanda and I have been talking about, green building kind of laws for new constructions, and there's differing views on the costs of that, and feasibility of that. And, maybe there's some NYSERDA stuff that can go in, but we would love to have, direction from you, so we know where you guys are going and what you're thinking, because so we can communicate that as well and make sure that everybody's been treated equally. We do get some people who come in and they just want to have it waved through. And sometimes we have to say to them, everybody has to be treated the same way. We all go through the same process. We can't make exceptions. We have to follow the code. So the direction is always great to have.
So in general, right, if I had to just summarize kind of what we've been working on and for the last, since I've been in office, the idea was, yes, we want to do development, but in the right place and in the right way. So yes, we passed the preservation plan, but so we want to preserve areas, but we can't preserve areas if we don't have density in other places. So that's why we rezoned the gateway area. And And so we're working on the ADU law. So increase density where we have density, but keep things preserved where we really want to preserve them, right? So you have to balance and you have to do both, right? And that's in general, that's what it is. Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I just want to say that, obviously it's the planning board's job to enforce the zoning code. And they can't change the code, only the town board can change the code. And as that's one of my jobs, is going through the zoning code and making sure they follow it. And I think there should be a process, no matter how well-intended codes are, when you put them to practice, they don't always work exactly how you expect them to. So the right way to do it is to kind of modify it as you go. Like certain wording, you try to read it and it really doesn't make sense in a practical way when you try to apply it to a project. So I think there should be a fluent process of updating the code and clearing it up as you go, so that the zoning code could be more and more clear, because there's nothing worse than a zoning code that you don't know what you're supposed to do, because it's just.
I agree 100%. Right. So, I mean, the example I'll use, right, is the recent waiver that was asked for by Farmer's Choice, right, with the trees. It talks about significant forested area, right? What's a significant forested area, right? That's too vague. It should be talking about the diameter of the trees, the age of the trees, the type of the trees, that, right? Because it needs to be more specific. And so, especially with the zoning that we just did, the code for the hamlet, the gateway area, we would appreciate any modification, because like the first time you go through any application, you find all of these gray areas or funny areas. That would be welcome, right? I don't think we want to go through and make 100 changes a year, but once a year, I think it would make sense. Just like we do a reorg meeting, once a year, it's like, hey, these are all the changes to the code that we need to make, and there's a whole list of them, and that's how you make it better, bit by bit. We don't want to make things change them night and day, but I really think that's how we make it better. Is like we find something that doesn't work and we tweak it so it does. So I would love it if you guys did that.
So I just like to say, one of the most important thing to me that doesn't work is having to have a unanimous vote for a waiver. And it's not so much the unanimous vote, but the entire board must be present to have that unanimous vote. And since we're 7 people, we don't get 7 people most meetings. So I remember one meeting we had the bank, and every waiver that we could possibly do on that night, we did. But it's not often, and it's very unfair to the applicant, because we could wait 6 or 7 meetings until we have an entire board present. So I hope you're looking to change that law, because that law just does not work.
Put it on the list. Things that don't work and that are unmanageable. I think it's worth and it's rationale why. Yeah, that'd be great.
So when do you need that by?
I mean, we can do it at any time. It costs us money to do all the paperwork and the laws. So I'd like, if we're gonna change a word or two here and there, it would be nice if we did did a few at a time.
Okay.
So then we have to have a public hearing and we got to file the law and we have to pay the attorney to write everything up. But if we can make some, kind of do a bunch of them at the same time, I think it makes a lot more sense. And then
That's good.
There are does year end work for that sort of process, or is it too busy? What's the best time of the year if we asked you to do that process? Any strike you?
Yeah, as soon as we have 3 or 4 things, which we have.
The beginning of the year, January, February. What we also, we want to do it. No one's really around in the summertime. If we did it in June and July and August, people would be like, I didn't know you did that, because everyone's away on vacation. The spring, I think, is a good time. When's a slow time for you, right?
Never.
I have no real preference, actually. I don't think it matters. What works
The
for,
planning board doesn't get a slow time, Neil.
Yeah, not anymore. The last thing is there are a lot of discrepancies in the new code. Discrepancies, meaning that it says one thing in one place and then another thing in another place for the same situation. So we've come across that a couple of times. We did once with Trans Hudson. I know it's the second story. It's one thing over here. It's another thing over there. Those things have to get fixed. So
Yeah,
maybe we'll put something together.
I think everyone would appreciate that. It'd be better for you, be better for the applicants.
Yeah. Okay, well, again, thanks. You have an agenda and I know we took up a lot of your time and I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Good to see you guys.
Thank
Bye,
you. Thanks all.
Okay, thanks. You gotta wait, public comments over, Wendy. Sorry. Let's see. So motion, we're on number 2 now. Motion to approve and authorize items 2A through 2L on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Actually, can I just quick question?
Sure.
So just to clarify, the authorization to waive the 30-day hold on the liquor license for novellas and for the VFWs, it's just, they already have liquor licenses and all we're doing is.
Yeah, it's like
redoing.
it's like a standard, if we want to, we can say no, like it's a standard 30 days. They have to wait after they've applied. And if we had like issues or concerns or anything like that, we could say, wait, hold for 30 days. We want to like talk about it or something. But usually we just waive it because we don't really have any concerns or anything.
Right. Okay, that was just checking. And then the other two, the ones right below those, establishment of escrow. What is that? Escrow for what?
It's probably a planning board application. So our responsibility, because we're the town board, we control like the finances. We have to approve they're creating the escrow. The planning board, they have an application for the planning board, and to have an application before the planning board, they have to submit money so it pays for the attorney and the engineers when they review the plans and the documents. And
Okay.
so they've submitted the money. We've said yes. Basically, we're saying thank you. We'll take the money.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, that was it. Just wanted to double check. So I'm all set.
Okay.
How many centimeters is this?
So I mean, if I think that Dan seconded, so
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So number 3, this is, so it's a motion to engage Vandewater and Vandewater LLP. These are attorneys. So we have certain disagree with the assessor. People kind of grieve their assessments. Normally, Joe Moriello has done that as part of the ZBA. We've brought in we're sharing an assessor with the town of Esopus, right? And she has an attorney that she regularly works with, and it's more efficient. She also has another person, David Baker, a licensed appraiser. Joe Moriello is fine with this. It kind of clears some of the work off of his desk as well. We'll be paying this person instead of Joe. He's okay with this. It's just, we're just bringing in different consultants to help us out, but we're keeping Joe on as the primary one. Basically, it's like bringing in another engineer to help out with different projects. And so, we have the money already budgeted for these. It's just now we're hiring a different consultant, and that's it.
I have a question.
So, motion to authorize the bringing on Vandewater and the Dan Baker as the licensed appraiser to help out with the scars.
I'll second.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 4 is accept the 2022 rate amendments for the community center and Field of Dreams. Chuck is just making some changes.
Second.
Probably making them at the reorg, but he wants to make them sooner, I think, rather than later.
to the old knives.
So we're accepting the rate amendments.
Yeah, it's a motion to change some of the rates. And we'll probably, I don't think my guess is we won't be changing them in January, but you never know. I think we're just changing them now, just changing some of the prices.
But do we know what the new rates are?
I think they should be, I thought they were in the,
Okay, I must.
they're not changing much. It's like, from like $20 to $25.
Oh, I see.
Modifying
Yeah.
the rates.
Okay.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
aye.
Aye.
So number 5 is, we kind of had a meeting with, Rick Alfandre. Jim would like to make some, add some room to the youth center. Kind of met with Rick Alfandre because we've been working with them on the courts and the fire station. And, they gave us a proposal. It's a little more than I think we can afford. So it's kind of more of like a discussion. I was hoping it was going to come in a little bit less than that. I think it's something to kind of think about for the future, but I don't think we can afford that right now, but maybe we can like get some grants or something to help pay for that. And then once we get the plans, then we can get some grants to pay to add on. But it's a little bit more than I think we can kind of swing right now. That's just my kind of thoughts, but I want to kind of present it to the board to see what you guys thought.
Did you have ideas how to reduce the cost or?
I'm going to talk to Jim and talk to Rick and see if we can do it in phases or something. But that I think we can't come up with the whole thing right now because we still don't have a town hall, So although I'd like to, but I think we need to kind of put it on the radar. I was hoping to that's like there's like a 5-year plan. We need to have something in place to address any issues within 5 years. And this was kind of the first step, but I'm not sure we can take the first step yet. Do you know what I mean?
are we looking at other proposals?
No, I mean, this was just kind of the first one to because we've worked with these guys a lot or anything. And that's like, okay, this is how much things like this normally cost. I think we may have to go back and say, okay, well, is there a way to kind of pare it down? And then if we need to, then we can get different proposals too, or we can do that now too.
I mean, I was just thinking getting different proposals might encourage them to.
I didn't realize it would even cost this much, but I think we also, we kind of sat around and there was a lot of like, oh, well, maybe we could do this and do this. And so this is like your wish list, and then we realized like, oh, maybe we can't maybe we have to redo maybe we can't redo the whole house, just redo our kitchen or something like that, from an analogy.
Well, I am a big fan of the youth center and the work that they do. And I think that it is vital to our community. And so I am happy for us to be spending our money, for the children. But I mean, we do have to do it in a cost-effective way.
Yeah, and I think, I'm committed to doing it. I think that I think Jim, they were thrilled to even have the discussion. And I think the way forward is to, you start having the discussion instead of just ignoring the problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. We definitely need to have the discussion.
Is there any way to create like a 5-year budget? So that you say, well, we'll give this much every year as a base for sure.
Yeah.
And then maybe adding on to that, there can be a match, a fundraising or business fundraising. So there can be a matching, I've done that a lot with nonprofits where you want to do an improvement, but you don't have the funding. So you put $200 in the budget and then see if you can get matching funds for it.
Yeah. And then do it piece by piece.
I think this project's going to cost a bunch of money, but I thought the first step was like, well, how much is it going to cost? How complicated is it? And that's what this was to kind of figure out.
Okay.
And I was hoping that this wouldn't be, as much as it is. I was hoping like, oh, maybe if we could get this done for less than this, something we could bite off in one bite. And then we have a plan like, okay, we know it's going to cost us this much and take this much time. then we can start planning for it. But I think we gotta kind of budget so we can put a plan together. But we can do something like that. You know, we've done it with like the trucks for the highway department. We put money away every single year in a dedicated account. You know, and I think, you know, once you decide like that's what you want to do, you know, you can start looking for, you know, with the CFAs, is there money for youth programs and things like that.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I'm hoping, you know, but it's mostly, you know, and I think the answer is yes, but, you know, is this something the board thinks is worth pursuing? Right?
Yeah.
And-
Yes.
and it-
Yeah, I'm with Esme. I think it's really important for us to support our kids and have, it's such a great place. They do so much for the community.
And it's an old building. They can't have everything they need in that old building with all the kids that they are serving.
Yeah.
I would love to talk with Jim. Maybe he could come to the next meeting or something and just talk us through, you know, what he sees as priorities and
I
start
mean, I can
having a
ask him, but
conversation.
I would say it's also like, you know, Essie went by, like, it's fun to go there. Like,
Yes.
you know, if you're ever feeling like depressed and overwhelmed, go there, and like seeing all the kids happy will like cheer you up, believe me.
And then you can also get an idea on the fact that they really do need space, because it's a small space and they're seeing like 40 kids a day and like packing them in and feeding them. I mean, that part is just so important. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that would be a priority, but I'm not really there working. So I agree that it might be good to hear from Jim where he thinks we should start so that we can at least do it piece by piece. But
I
hands down, definitely a priority. We need to do it.
I mean, I think what kind of started the conversation was like, they are doing, you know, Jim's a licensed social worker. And like a lot of the other staff, they are counselors, and there'll often be a time when, you know, they'll see a kid that, you know, maybe a little stressed or unhappy or something like that, and they'll just like kind of chat with them, and, you know, not like, lay them on the couch and do therapy or something like that, but, you know, they'll need a place where like, hey, well, come on over here, let's just chat for a little bit, you know, and it's harder when there's so many kids there. Right, because you want to be able to get someone off and let them feel like comfortable enough to open up, and you need to like, so in some ways you need some more room where you can just kind of like have this like casual like conversation and let the person feel like it's safe to open up, and so like space is a little tight there, right? So that's one of the ideas. So they've been, yeah, and they do some tutoring there, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's true. I've been there a couple times and I can't remember one time where somebody we have to like squeeze by each other and that kind of thing. And right, kids are, you know, at that age, sometimes in crisis, and they do need some privacy, so.
I mean, that kind of was like that precipitated the conversation with Jim. You know, it's like, oh, could we like, maybe we could like just add like a little room on the side. And then I'm like, well, if we're gonna add a room, what if we did this and that? And then it kind of got bigger than it needs to be. So Jim might say, oh, maybe we don't need to add like this whole thing, and we don't need to redo the whole building. Maybe we just need to, you know, do, you know, something smaller. So, you know, I'll go back and talk to Jim about it.
That would be great.
And invite him if he wants to come, that'd be great. too.
Yeah. He can come back with something concrete for us to actually like look at. That would be great.
And for us to thank him.
Neil, did we do number 4?
I think so. Just to rate, some rate changes for the community center, Field of Dreams. But maybe we didn't vote on it.
I think we would vote on it.
Okay, so motion to accept the 2022 rate amendments for the community center and Field of Dreams rentals.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So number 6, you know, we talked about this back when Officer Carpinelli passed away. It is so the way it works is in the police contract. If a dispatcher dies while employed by the town, their family gets health coverage for continues to get the same health coverage for 1 year from the time of death. And back in 2016, when we were, and that was supposed to be in the contract for the police officers as well, but somehow it didn't end up in the contract. And back in 2016, or 17, when we were putting the police contract expired in 2018, one of the proposals that the town, we had in the proposed contract with the PBA was to include that for both officers and dispatchers. So they would be treated the same, and it would be in writing, so you wouldn't have to like guess. But that we went to arbitration, we never ended up negotiating because we couldn't come to an agreement on how much the officers would contribute for healthcare. And then we eventually, this past fall, last fall, we came to an MOA where we agreed on changes to healthcare contributions and things like that, but we never went back and talked about all the details about things like this. So this, we just signed an MOA that extended the contract for 2 years, but changed what the rates of pay were. And then Officer Carpinelli died, and the ask was, well, could we, if we were going to negotiate that in the contract, could we, for Officer Carpinelli, include that, right? And the town board, we all talked about this. We thought it was the right thing to do because that was always the intent, but we never really signed a contract to do that. And this is now just we talked about it individually, but this is talk about it in person and in public as a meeting, to authorize me to sign an MOA with the police, the PBA, for Officer Carpinelli's health insurance to reflect what it would be, reflect the language for the dispatchers in the police contract. And this would be this would be a one only thing. It wouldn't set any precedents. It wouldn't mean this would happen for any other officers unless we negotiated in the next contract. This is not setting a precedent for anything. It's just saying that, this is something that we were going to negotiate last time and we probably would have agreed upon, but we never got around to. And so the motion is just to authorize me to sign the MOA with the PBA. And if you guys have any discussion.
Second?
Second, yeah, happy to.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 7, so the CCA, the Community Choice Aggregation thing fell apart because the company that Juul Energy contracted with kind of walked away from the contract. The town was receiving electricity as part of the CCA, but now because that CCA is going to take 6 or 7 or 8 months at least to kind of pull everything back together and get bids. I would like to work with the New York Power Authority because they'll do the same sort of thing and provide green energy to municipalities, and we can lock the prices in for the next year. Now I've asked them to give us some prices. That'll lock our electricity costs in for the next year and make it stable, and we won't have to worry about prices with Central Hudson going, up over the course of the winter. And so this is just a motion to authorize me to sign like a 1-year contract with the New York Power Authority to get blended power. It may not be all green. It may be a mix of green and gray and stuff. It depends what they can get on the market right now.
Second,
You guys have any thoughts, discussion, or all in favor?
Aye.
This number 8, this is a grant that we were working on with Liz Elkin, Amanda Gatto. It's kind of builds on the project we started last year along that Empire State Trail, where we're planting, instead of mowing the grass, we're planting like wildflowers and trees and things like that. So we don't have to mow, but it's also pollinator friendly. This is a grant to do that same thing. So we're asking for money to continue and help us pay for that project. And maybe also do it in another area of town as well to like do less mowing and get more plants out there. Not in areas where kids play baseball or anything, but in areas where we just mow and there's no reason to mow. Like, you know, we tried to do it along in between the old town hall and Stewart's. And, you know, this, we might do a small area in front of the old town hall where we mow, where it's kind of hilly, but there's no need to mow. Not in the area where there's a ditch, but just where there's lots of grass, but no one ever plays on the grass. I'd rather not mow if we don't have to, but it has to look nice. So, and this is just there is no match for this. This is just the authorization to apply for a grant for up to $25,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9 is, then again, this is not something we're paying for. This is, the OSI is using money from the county, from the rescue plan to redo the rail trail from Sojourner Truth Park out to Gardner. The village is responsible for the village section. This is the town section out there. So they're going to be paying for everything, but because it's town property, they put the bids out. They got the bids back. Paul Colucci came in with the lowest bid. And this is just, we're giving our authorization to allow Paul to do the work on town-owned land, which is along the rail, on the rail trail. But it's not, this is not costing the town any.
Second,
All in favor?
thank you, OSI.
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question about the Sojourner Truth Park. Didn't we have a statue once? I don't know if that was ours or the villages, but people keep asking me about what happened to this statue.
Dan, there was a statue that was going to be, we asked about, I don't know if there was a statue. Was there a statue there? I know there was one proposed. The county was going to build one. Then they put it in, I think by the walkway over the Hudson. And then another one was made and they were going to put it near the library on campus.
No, not that one.
That one.
But some people kept, I don't remember the statue at the park, but people have mentioned it. So I don't know if they were talking about something that was there. No, people said it was there and isn't anymore.
I've never seen like a figurative sculpture.
I have seen a plaque sort of thing that I know the New Paltz Kayak has put there that is beautiful, and they take it down for the winter and put it back in the spring. But a few people asked me about that statue. I just thought I'd ask since
I've never seen a
I
sculpture.
have been asked.
We can ask,
Yeah.
see if anyone knows anything about it. I mean, we can ask.
Thank you.
So did we vote? I'll ask maybe the town historian, see if they know anything, or I'll ask the mayor if they know anything about it.
Mhm.
Did we vote on approval for that?
I think so.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We did that.
Let's see. Number 10, the bids came back from the auction where Chris was auctioning the highway equipment. And this is just a motion to accept the bids. $9,400 for the PD car, $3,800 for the highway truck, and $375 for the arm mower attachment.
I think it's great that we got this at auction. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice to get some of that money back. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
And, this is
Second.
going- okay, yeah, this is going into like a dedicated fund for highway vehicles. Is that right, Chris? I'm pretty sure it is. I have it written down.
Yeah, for the highway vehicles it is, and the police vehicle goes into the police fund. I think he has a capital fund for equipment.
Okay, yeah, okay. So these go into the appropriate capital funds. So,
Yep, and we did really well. They were only going to give us $3,200 for a trade-in on that police car, so we did very, very well. Yeah,
Great.
very happy with that.
yeah, I'm glad we made the money instead of they did.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and so this next 11 is, been looking for to replace the planning zoning secretary. Stacy has found someone. I think I sent that all around to everyone. Stacy would really like us to accept or to offer Christine Tabasco the position as a full-time planning zoning secretary, starting the week of October 3rd, 2022 at $20 an hour. If people have any questions or about that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
12 is September warrant. We approve the September warrant for $468,980.36.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then let's see, don't think anyone's here. No one's here for public comment. So I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing for the local law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'd like to make a motion to pass the local law for the tax cap.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn unless I missed something.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Did you do the warrant, Neil?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, but thank you, because like that would be bad. We'd be having a special meeting tomorrow.
Right. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, guys.
Night,
Have a
everyone.
nice evening.
You too. Good weekend.
Bye.